Imagine waking up in the morning, and before you even step out of bed, your mind is already racing. Thinking about the tasks for the day, replaying past regrets, worrying about the future, and reacting to notifications on your phone. Before you even take your first sip of tea or coffee, you are already deep in thought, often filled with stress, anxiety, and worry. Does this sound familiar? The modern world has conditioned us to live in a state of constant distraction. Our thoughts jump from one concern to another, like a restless monkey swinging from tree to tree. But what if you could tame this monkey mind? What if you could create inner silence, an oasis of calm amidst the chaos? Buddhism has long provided wisdom on how to cultivate a peaceful mind. In this video, we will explore 7 life-changing Buddhist teachings that will help you quiet your mind, let go of stress, and experience true inner peace. Stay until the end because the final lesson is the key to lasting serenity, one that monks and spiritual masters have practiced for centuries. Let's begin. All right, let's get real for a moment. How often do you feel like your mind is running on a never-ending treadmill? You wake up, and bam, thoughts are already flooding in. Did I send that email? What if I mess up today's presentation? Why did I say that awkward thing last night? It's like a radio station playing non-stop, but you can't find the off switch. And let's be honest, most of the time, those thoughts aren't helpful. They pull you into stress, regret, or even imaginary scenarios that will probably never happen. But here's the thing. You are not your thoughts. Let me say that again. You are not your thoughts. This is one of the most powerful lessons Buddhism teaches. Just because a thought pops up in your mind doesn't mean you have to believe it, react to it, or let it control your emotions. The mind as a river. Think of your mind like a river. Thoughts are just leaves floating downstream. Some are small and unimportant, others are bigger and might grab your attention. But no matter what, they keep flowing. Now, imagine standing on the riverbank, just watching. You're not in the water, you're not chasing the leaves, you're just observing. That's what it means to be the observer of your thoughts. Instead of getting swept away by every single worry, fear, or memory that arises, you simply watch them pass. Why this is so hard now? I know what you're thinking. That sounds nice, but how do I actually do it? My mind won't shut up. And you're right. The mind doesn't like being ignored. It wants to be heard. It's spent years convincing you that every thought is urgent and important. But just because your mind is loud doesn't mean it's telling the truth. Have you ever had a moment where your thoughts convinced you of something terrible? Maybe you were sure someone was mad at you, only to later find out they weren't thinking about you at all. Or you stayed up all night worrying about something that turned out to be nothing. This happens all the time because the mind is just generating thoughts. It's what it does, like how the heart beats and the lungs breathe. But you don't have to listen to every thought your brain throws at you. The sky and the clouds. A powerful metaphor. Let's take another example. Think of your mind as the sky, and your thoughts as clouds. Some are light and fluffy, some are dark and stormy, but here's the key. The sky never changes because of the clouds. No matter how wild the weather gets, the sky remains unchanged, untouched, and always present. You are the sky. Your thoughts are just passing clouds. When you realize this, you start to see that your thoughts don't define you. A thought is just a thought. It's not reality. You don't have to chase every cloud or believe every story your mind creates. How to practice being the observer. So, how do you actually do this? How do you stop being a servant to your thoughts and start observing them instead? 1. Catch yourself in the act. The first step is awareness. The next time you catch yourself lost in a spiral of overthinking, pause. Notice what's happening. Say to yourself, I see what's going on here. My mind is trying to pull me into another cycle of worry. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to judge yourself. Just notice it. 2. Name the thought. Instead of saying, I am stressed, shift your language to, I am noticing stress in my mind. Instead of, I am a failure, say, I am having thoughts about failure. This small change helps you step back from your thoughts. It reminds you that thoughts are just temporary visitors, not permanent truths. 3. Use the cloud method. Picture each thought as a cloud drifting across the sky. Watch it come and go. If it's a stressful thought, let it float away without grabbing onto it. The moment you stop clinging to thoughts, they lose their power over you. 4. Breathe through it. If your mind is racing, bring your attention back to your breath. Take a deep inhale, hold it, and slowly exhale. Your breath is always in the present moment, unlike your thoughts, which are usually stuck in the past or racing into the future. Every time you focus on your breath, you ground yourself in the here and now. 5. Journal your thoughts. Another powerful way to detach from your thoughts is to write them down. Once they're on paper, you'll start to see how repetitive and irrational they can be. Seeing them in front of you makes it easier to let them go. A Zen story, The Man and the Horse. There's an old Zen story that perfectly illustrates the power of observing thoughts instead of being controlled by them. One day, a man was standing by the road when he saw a horse galloping wildly past him. Another man, riding the horse, was barely holding on. The first man shouted, "Where are you going?" The man on the horse yelled back, "I don't know. Ask the horse." This is exactly what happens when we let our thoughts control us. The horse, our thoughts, takes off, dragging us along for the ride. But if we become aware, we can regain control. Instead of being the man barely hanging on, we can step off the horse and watch it from a distance. Why? This will change your life. When you learn to observe your thoughts rather than reacting to them, everything changes. You stop taking things personally. You become less reactive. You find inner peace even in difficult situations. And, most importantly, you realize that you are the awareness behind the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. So the next time your mind is racing, remember, you are the sky, not the clouds. You are the observer, not the servant. And just like that, you start stepping into a whole new level of inner freedom. If this lesson resonated with you, take a moment right now. Yes, right now, to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just observe your thoughts. Watch them like clouds passing by. If you practice this daily, you'll start to notice a shift. Your thoughts won't control you anymore. Instead, you'll find a quiet space within yourself, one that's always been there, just waiting for you to return to it. And that, my friend, is the true power of mindfulness. Why we struggle to find peace. Let's be honest. Our minds are restless, constantly racing, constantly worrying, constantly thinking about the past or the future. It's exhausting, isn't it? Even when we sit down to relax, we don't really relax. We scroll through our phones, check messages, and flood our minds with even more noise. And when we finally try to sleep, our thoughts keep spinning, replaying the day, planning tomorrow, and dragging us into endless loops of overthinking. But what if I told you that you already have the key to calm your mind, quiet your thoughts, and reset your entire mental state? And it's something you've had with you since the moment you were born. Your breath. The breath as a gateway to inner stillness. Buddhism teaches that your breath is the bridge between your body and mind. It's always with you, always happening, and yet, most of the time, we completely ignore it. But here's the secret. If you can control your breath, you can control your mind. Right now, take a moment to notice how you're breathing. Are you breathing deeply or shallowly? Is your breath slow and steady, or is it quick and erratic? Chances are, if you're feeling anxious or distracted, your breathing is short and shallow. That's because your breath and your mental state are directly connected. When your breath is calm, your mind is calm. When your breath is erratic, your mind is all over the place. Why most people breathe incorrectly. Most of us go through life breathing in shallow, unconscious patterns, especially when we're stressed. Instead of deep belly breaths, we take short, rapid breaths in our chest. This triggers our fight or flight response, making us feel even more anxious. Now, imagine flipping that around. Imagine taking slow, deep breaths that tell your nervous system, "Hey, everything's okay. You're safe. You can relax." When you breathe with awareness, your body and mind immediately start to shift into a state of peace and clarity. And the best part? You don't need any fancy equipment, any external tools, or any special training. You can start right now. The 4-second breath technique. All right, let's try something together. Inhale deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Feel your belly expand. Hold the breath for 4 seconds. Let it settle. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 4 seconds. Let go of all tension. Pause for 4 seconds, then repeat. Do this a few times, and notice what happens. Your shoulders relax. Your heart rate slows down. Your thoughts begin to settle. This is the power of mindful breathing. A story from Buddhist teachings. The monkey mind. In Buddhist teachings, there's a term called the monkey mind. Imagine a wild monkey, jumping from branch to branch, never sitting still, constantly restless. This is exactly how our minds behave, jumping from thought to thought, emotion to emotion, distraction to distraction. But here's what's interesting. Monks don't try to control the monkey mind directly. Instead, they focus on the breath. Why? Because the breath is like a leash for the monkey mind. When you focus on your breath, the monkey mind naturally begins to settle. It stops jumping around so much. It becomes calm, steady, and quiet. This is why monks in Buddhist traditions practice anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. They know that if they can master the breath, they can master the mind. Breathing as a meditation practice. Many people think meditation is about completely stopping thoughts, but that's impossible. The mind will always generate thoughts. The real goal of meditation is learning how to return to the present moment over and over again, and your breath is the perfect tool for that. Every time your mind wanders, instead of getting frustrated, just gently bring your attention back to your breath. 1 inhale, 1 exhale. That's it. It's simple, but incredibly powerful. Using the breath to break free from overthinking. Let's say you're in a situation where your mind is spiraling with worry. Maybe you're overthinking a decision, replaying an embarrassing moment, or stressing about the future. The next time this happens, instead of feeding the thoughts, try this. Pause. Take a deep breath. Bring all your focus to that 1 inhale and exhale. Thoughts might still come, and that's okay. Just keep returning to your breath. Each time you do this, it's like pressing the reset button on your mind. How to integrate breath awareness into daily life. You don't have to wait until you're meditating to use your breath as a tool for peace. You can integrate it into your everyday life. When you wake up, take 3 deep breaths before getting out of bed. Before a stressful situation, pause, breathe, and ground yourself. While waiting in line, instead of checking your phone, focus on your breath. When you feel overwhelmed, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and slow down. By making breath awareness a habit, you train your mind to stay present, calm, and focused. No matter where you are, no matter what's happening, your breath is always available to you. It's like a built-in sanctuary, a place you can return to whenever life feels overwhelming. And the best part? The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, you'll notice that your mind becomes quieter, your emotions become more balanced, and your life feels lighter. So, the next time your thoughts start racing, remember this: your breath is your anchor. Your breath is your calm. Your breath is the key to inner peace. Now, take a deep breath and just be. Have you ever walked into a messy room and immediately felt stressed? Your eyes dart around, trying to make sense of the clutter. Piles of papers, clothes on the floor, half-empty coffee cups, random objects scattered everywhere. It's overwhelming, right? Well, guess what? Your mind works the same way. When your thoughts are cluttered, when you're juggling too many things at once, worrying about 100 different problems, and consuming endless information, your mental space starts to look like that messy room. No wonder we feel so restless. No wonder we struggle to focus. No wonder inner peace feels so out of reach. Buddhism teaches that simplicity is the key to mental clarity. And I don't just mean decluttering your physical space, although that helps too. I mean simplifying your thoughts, your habits, your attention, your entire way of being. Because when you create space in your life, you create peace in your mind. The hidden cost of mental clutter. We live in a world that tells us, do more, be more, achieve more, consume more. We're constantly bombarded with information. News, social media, emails, notifications, opinions from 100 different directions. It's like an overflowing cup. If you keep pouring more in, eventually it spills over, making a mess. When your mind is cluttered, you feel anxious and overwhelmed. You jump from task to task without finishing anything. You struggle to be present because your thoughts are scattered. You lose touch with what truly matters. But the good news? You don't need more to feel at peace. You need less. The Buddhist approach to simplicity Buddhism has always emphasized the power of simplicity. The Buddha himself was born into extreme luxury. He had everything. But he gave it all up because he realized that material wealth and constant distractions only lead to suffering, not fulfillment. He taught that true peace comes from letting go of unnecessary burdens, whether they're physical possessions, stressful thoughts, or meaningless obligations. How to simplify your life and clear your mind. Simplicity isn't about deprivation. It's about making space for what truly matters. Here are some ways you can start reducing mental clutter today. 1. Declutter your physical space. Your external environment affects your internal state. If your home, desk, or bedroom is full of clutter, your mind feels cluttered too. The simple act of cleaning up your space can have an instant calming effect. Start small. Clear one drawer. Organize your desk. Donate things you don't use. Keep only what adds value to your life. A clean, simple space creates a sense of lightness and clarity, just like a decluttered mind. 2. Reduce your information overload. We live in a time where we consume way too much information. News headlines, social media updates, YouTube videos, endless scrolling. Our brains weren't designed to process this much input. Think about it. Do you really need to check the news 5 times a day? Do you really need to follow hundreds of accounts on social media? Do you really need to watch every trending video? Or could you let go of some of it? Try this. Unfollow accounts that don't bring you value. Set boundaries. No screens before bed, no unnecessary notifications. Choose quality over quantity. Read one meaningful article instead of 10 random ones. The less mental noise you allow in, the more peace you create. 3. Stop overcommitting yourself. Are you always saying yes to things you don't actually want to do? Overcommitting leads to burnout. If your schedule is packed with things that drain you instead of energizing you, it's time to simplify. Ask yourself, do I really need to do this? Is this adding to my peace or taking away from it? What would happen if I just said no more often? The more you prioritize what truly matters, the less stressed and scattered you'll feel. Let go of unnecessary worries. Here's a powerful truth. Most of what we worry about doesn't even happen. Yet we spend hours, days, even years carrying around unnecessary fears. Things we can't control, things that aren't even real. Buddhism teaches that attachment to worry creates suffering. If you want a clear mind, you have to learn to let go of thoughts that don't serve you. Try this. Every time you catch yourself worrying, ask, is this something I can control? If yes, take action. If no, let it go. Worrying doesn't change the outcome, but it does steal your peace. 5. Practice doing one thing at a time. Multitasking is a lie. We think we're being productive when we do 10 things at once, but in reality, we're just splitting our attention, making everything harder. Buddhism encourages single tasking, doing one thing at a time with full presence. Next time you eat, just eat. Next time you walk, just walk. Next time you work, just work. When you focus fully on one thing, your mind quiets down, and you experience a sense of ease and clarity. 6. Create daily moments of silence. We fill our days with constant noise. TV, podcasts, music, conversations. But have you ever noticed how rarely we sit in complete silence? Stillness is where wisdom arises. It's where you can actually hear your own thoughts instead of the world's distractions. Try setting aside just 5 minutes each day to sit in silence. No phone, no screens, no distractions. Just breathe and be. You'll be amazed at how much calmer and more centered you feel. A Zen story, The Overflowing Cup. A Zen master once invited a student over for tea. The student was eager to learn, talking endlessly about everything he knew. The master poured tea into the student's cup, and then he kept pouring. The tea overflowed, spilling onto the table. The student panicked, saying, "Master, stop! The cup is full. It can't hold any more." The master smiled and said, "Exactly. Your mind is like this cup. It is already full. Until you empty it, there is no room for new wisdom." This is why simplicity is so powerful. When you empty the unnecessary, you create space for clarity, insight, and peace. Final thought: less is more. We often think that happiness comes from adding more achievements, more success, more possessions. But Buddhism teaches that true peace comes from letting go of what weighs us down. When you simplify your life, your space, your thoughts, your commitments, you create freedom. So start small. Clear out one thing today. Say no to one unnecessary worry. Take one deep breath of silence. And watch how your mind begins to feel lighter, clearer, and at peace. Because in the end, less isn't just more. It's everything. Why our minds feel so scattered. All right, let's be honest. How often do you feel like your attention is being pulled in 100 different directions at once? You're eating breakfast while scrolling through your phone. You're replying to messages while watching TV. You're working, but your brain is already thinking about the next 10 things on your to-do list. And what happens? By the end of the day, you feel mentally exhausted, like you've been busy all day but haven't actually accomplished anything meaningful. That's because multitasking isn't making you more productive. It's making you more distracted, more stressed, and less effective at everything you do. Buddhism teaches a simple but powerful truth. When you do something, do only that one thing. This is the power of single tasking, giving your full attention to one thing at a time. And when you start practicing this, your mind becomes sharper, calmer, and more focused than ever before. The myth of multitasking. We live in a world that glorifies busyness. Somewhere along the way, we got the idea that doing multiple things at once makes us more productive. But here's the truth. Multitasking is a lie. Your brain isn't actually doing two things at the same time. It's just rapidly switching between them. And every time it switches, there's a tiny delay, a mental loading time as your brain tries to refocus. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to read two books at the same time by constantly flipping between pages. You'd never really get into either book, right? That's what multitasking does to your brain. It keeps you in a constant state of shallow focus, never fully engaged in anything. The result? More mistakes, more stress, less enjoyment of the present moment. But when you single task, everything changes. Buddhist teachings on deep focus. Zen Buddhism has a concept called Ichigyo Zanmai, which means one practice, complete absorption. It's the idea that whatever you're doing, whether it's drinking tea, sweeping the floor, or working on a project, you should give it your full and undivided attention. Because when you do something with full awareness, it becomes a form of meditation. A Zen master once said, "When you walk, walk. When you eat, eat. When you work, work." It sounds simple, but most people don't live this way. Instead, we're always half-doing things, splitting our focus between multiple tasks, never truly present. But what if we started doing things differently? The benefits of single tasking. When you commit to doing one thing at a time, you'll start to notice. Checkmark. Your mind feels clearer. No more juggling a million things at once. You get more done in less time. Without distractions, you work faster and better. You enjoy life more. Even small tasks become more meaningful when you're fully present. You feel less stressed. Instead of rushing, you move through life with calm and focus. The best part? You don't have to change what you do, just how you do it. How to practice single tasking in daily life 1. Be fully present in every task. The next time you're doing something, whether it's eating, working, or even washing the dishes, try this. Do it with complete attention. If you're eating, don't watch TV or scroll through your phone, just eat. Notice the taste, the texture, the sensation of chewing. If you're working, close all unnecessary tabs, silence your phone, and focus on just that one task. If you're having a conversation, actually listen to the other person instead of thinking about what you're going to say next. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. 2. eliminate distractions. We live in a world full of interruptions, notifications, emails, social media, background noise. If you want to focus deeply, you have to take control of your environment. Try this. Put your phone on silent or in another room while working. Close all unnecessary tabs on your computer. Find a quiet space where you can concentrate. When you remove distractions, your brain naturally focuses better. 3. Slow down and be intentional. Most of us rush through our days, moving from one task to the next without really experiencing anything. But when you slow down and do things intentionally, everything changes. Try this. When you walk, pay attention to each step. Feel your feet touching the ground. When you drink tea or coffee, notice the warmth of the cup, the aroma, the taste. When you write, focus on the movement of your hand, the flow of the words. This simple practice turns ordinary moments into mindfulness exercises. 4. Use the deep work method. If you have something important to do, whether it's work, studying, or creative projects, try this technique. Set a timer for 30 to 60 minutes. Work on only one task during that time. No switching, no distractions. Take a short break, then repeat. This method trains your brain to focus deeply, and over time, you'll find that you can work with more clarity and efficiency. 5. Practice tech-free time. One of the biggest obstacles to single tasking? Our phones. Try setting aside at least 1 hour per day where you don't use any screens. Instead, do something with your full attention. Read a book, go for a walk, meditate, or just sit in silence. You'll be amazed at how much lighter and clearer your mind feels. A Zen story. The Tea Master and the Warrior. There's a famous Zen story about a tea master and a samurai warrior. One day, the samurai challenged the tea master to a duel. The tea master, having no experience with fighting, was terrified. So, he went to a Zen master and asked, "How can I fight when I have no skills?" The Zen master smiled and said, "You are a master of tea. Perform the tea ceremony with the same focus, and you will be fine." The next day, the tea master walked into the duel, completely present, completely focused, as if he were preparing tea. The samurai, seeing his calmness, was so impressed that he bowed and walked away, realizing that true mastery comes from absolute presence. This is the power of single tasking. We spend so much of our lives half present, never fully experiencing what's right in front of us. But when we learn to single task, everything changes. Our work improves, our relationships deepen, our minds become clear and peaceful. So today, try this. Check Eat without distractions. Do one task at a time. Slow down and be fully present. Because the secret to a calmer, happier mind isn't doing more. It's being fully present in what you're already doing. And when you master this, every moment becomes a meditation. Why do we suffer? One of the biggest sources of mental suffering is the tendency to over-identify with problems. When challenges arise, it's natural to feel overwhelmed or frustrated. But our minds often make these struggles worse by attaching them to our identity. For example, if you fail at something, instead of thinking, "This is a temporary setback," you might tell yourself, "I am a failure." This small shift in perspective makes all the difference. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from clinging to emotions, thoughts, and personal struggles. But you are not your struggles. You are the awareness behind them. The teaching of non-attachment. In Buddhist philosophy, suffering is caused by attachment, whether it's to thoughts, material things, emotions, or even personal identities. The more you cling to an idea about yourself, the more difficult it becomes to adapt and move forward. Instead of saying, "I am stressed," try shifting your perspective to, "I am experiencing stress." This subtle but powerful change creates emotional distance between you and your thoughts, making it easier to let them go. A story from Buddhist teachings. There is a famous Zen story about two monks who were walking together. They reached a river where a woman was struggling to cross. The older monk picked her up and carried her across, then continued walking. Hours later, the younger monk asked, "Why did you carry that woman?" "We monks are not supposed to touch women." The older monk smiled and said, "I put her down hours ago." "Why are you still carrying her?" This story teaches us that holding on to past experiences, especially painful ones, only burdens the mind. Let go and you will be free. How to practice non-attachment daily. Recognize your thoughts as temporary experiences. Just like clouds passing in the sky, your worries will also pass. Stop replaying painful experiences. Every time you replay a negative memory, you strengthen its hold on you. Accept change as a natural part of life. Nothing is permanent. Not pain, not joy, not even problems. Practice mindfulness. When you are fully present, you realize that most of your worries are created by the mind, not reality. When you stop over-identifying with your struggles, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering and open the door to inner peace. Why we struggle to be still. The modern world is filled with constant distractions. Even when we have a moment of free time, we often fill it with more noise, scrolling through social media, watching TV, or worrying about the future. But true peace is not found in doing more. It is found in doing less. Stillness is not about stopping life. It's about experiencing it more fully. Stillness is the gateway to wisdom. Buddhism teaches that when the mind is still, wisdom arises naturally. Think of a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, the water remains cloudy. But if you let it sit still, the mud settles, and the water becomes clear. Your mind is the same way. When you allow yourself to be still, mental noise settles and clarity emerges. Simple stillness practices. You don't need to sit in meditation for hours to experience stillness. Here are simple practices you can integrate into your daily life. Silent mornings. Start your day without immediately checking your phone. Instead, spend a few moments in quiet reflection. Mindful breathing. Take 5 deep breaths before starting any new task. Nature walks. Spend time in nature without distractions. Observe the trees, the sky, and the wind. Tech-free time. Set aside time each day to disconnect from digital devices. Slow down. Instead of rushing through your day, move with intention and awareness. By practicing these small but powerful habits, your mind will naturally become calmer and more present. The illusion of control. One of the greatest sources of stress is the illusion of control. We try to control outcomes, people, emotions, and even the future. But the truth is, life is unpredictable, and no matter how much we plan, things will not always go as expected. Buddhism teaches that attachment to control leads to suffering. The more we resist the natural flow of life, the more stress and anxiety we create. The river analogy. Life is like a river. It flows naturally. But when you try to force the river to go in a specific direction, you struggle. Instead of resisting, learn to flow with it. When you let go of the need to control everything, you gain something far greater: inner peace. Practicing letting go. Accept uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, learn to embrace it. Trust in the process. Sometimes things don't go the way you planned because something better is waiting. Focus on what you can control. Your actions, attitude, and perspective are always within your power. Practice surrender. Whenever you feel anxious, take a deep breath and say, I release the need to control. I trust that life will unfold as it should. The greatest freedom comes not from controlling life, but from learning to be at peace with whatever happens. By applying these 7 Buddhist teachings, you can transform your mind into a sanctuary of peace. Become the observer, not the servant of your thoughts. Silence the mind by mastering your breath. Reduce mental clutter with simplicity. The power of single tasking. Stop over-identifying with your problems. Daily stillness practices to reset your mind. Let go of the need to control everything. Each of these teachings is a step toward inner freedom. The more you practice them, the quieter your mind becomes, and the more you can experience life fully, peacefully, and without resistance. If you found these teachings helpful, consider subscribing to Silent Strength for more wisdom on Buddhist philosophy and mindfulness. Let us know in the comments. Which of these teachings resonated with you the most? Thank you for watching. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering.